I came home from a 12-hour shift, sweaty, exhausted, just wanted to hug the woman I'd loved for 15 years. But instead, I found a letter. No goodbye, no tears, just cold cursive on expensive paper, and a missing cruise ticket I'd saved 5 years to afford. She took it with him. They thought I'd break, that I was too safe, too predictable, that I wouldn't fight back. But what they didn't know is I had receipts. Every charge, every lie, every secret message. And I wasn't alone. Because the man she ran away with, he had a wife, too. A woman with a sharper mind than either of them, and a rage even colder than mine. You want to see what happens when the quiet one turns into storm? Stay right here. This doesn't end the way they thought. It ended the way I planned. I came home from work that Thursday evening like I always did. Parked the truck. Grabbed my lunch bag from the passenger seat. Unlocked the front door. Same sequence. Same rhythm. For 15 years, I'd walked through that door expecting the world I built to still be there waiting. But that day, the world felt quieter. Off balance. Like something had shifted when I wasn't looking. There were no dinner smells wafting from the kitchen. No faint music playing from Lauren's phone. Just stillness. Heavy. Dense. It was a kind of silence that doesn't happen by accident. That's when I saw the envelope. It was propped carefully against a vase we picked out at that artisan shop last Christmas. The one Lauren said gave our kitchen character. My name was written on the front in her tidy cursive, the same handwriting she reserved for condolence cards and wedding gifts. I knew, before I even opened it, that she was already gone. I didn't sit down. I didn't take off my coat. I stood there in the middle of the kitchen and read it. By the time you read this, I'll be on the plane. I need time to figure things out. Time to breathe again. I felt stuck, like I'm drowning inside a life I didn't choose. I know this is sudden. I know it hurts. But I'm taking the Mediterranean cruise. The one you booked for our anniversary. I need space to find myself again. Please don't try to reach me. I just need to be away. I'm sorry. Lauren, that was it. No explanation. No I love you. No goodbye. She took the trip I spent 5 years saving for. The one I planned down to the last meal and ocean view. She said she didn't have time for it. Said she was too busy. Now, she was gone with someone else. And she didn't even bother to lie about it. She left the house in perfect order. But something in the air told me this wasn't impulsive. She'd packed carefully. Her toothbrush was gone. Her side of the closet empty. Her favorite shoes, her good earrings, her passport, all missing. She didn't run away. She executed an exit. The man she's with? Chase Monroe. I'd heard his name before. One of those harmless office names that kept popping up in her stories over dinner. Chase said this. Chase thinks that I should have known. Maybe I did. Maybe I just didn't want to see it. I poured myself a glass of bourbon, sat down at the kitchen table, and pulled out the old notebook I hadn't opened in years. It still smelled like leather and dust and time. I flipped to the first clean page, pressed the pen hard against the paper, and wrote, Exit strategy, initiated. She thinks I'm safe, predictable, passive. She's about to learn the difference between quiet and calculating. I didn't sleep that night, not because I was angry, not even because I was heartbroken. What kept me awake was the quiet realization that everything I thought I knew had been rewritten behind my back. And the worst part wasn't the betrayal. It was the orchestration, the precision, the strategy. Lauren didn't just leave. She prepared for this like it was a job interview or a corporate takeover. And if there's one thing I've learned after working maintenance for 20 years, it's this. When something breaks, you don't panic. You diagnose. You look for the signs. You follow the damage to its source. And Lauren? She left a digital trail. So neat it almost felt like she wanted me to find it. The first clue was her laptop, still charging on the counter. Screen closed but not locked. Lauren was always careless with her tech, never logged out of anything, never changed passwords. She said she trusted me. Or maybe she just didn't think I'd ever look. That night, I did. Gmail, still signed in. Facebook, Instagram, Slack, all open. All quiet. At first, I didn't know what I was looking for. Then I saw it, her photo folder. Mostly harmless. Selfies, dinner photos, vacation spots we never went to. But then there it was. A folder dated last Thursday, labeled Backup Pixel Storage. Inside were over 100 files. Screenshots, receipts, photos, videos. I opened the first video. It was filmed in our bedroom. Our bed. Lauren was in it, but she wasn't alone. Chase Monroe, shirtless, holding his phone like it was a trophy. Lauren laughing, not nervously, comfortably, like this wasn't new, like it had happened before. I closed the video after 30 seconds. I didn't throw the laptop. I didn't scream. I didn't call her. I just stared at the screen, then opened a new folder on my own laptop, named it Asset Archive. I copied everything. Then I kept going. Banking apps, credit card statements, shared email logins. She hadn't changed a thing. Within an hour, I found out she'd transferred nearly $87,000 from our retirement savings to a personal checking account 3 weeks ago, labeled the withdrawal as travel reimbursement. 2 cruise tickets, paid in full, 6 weeks ago, one under her name, the other under his. She used our joint credit card. She didn't even bother to hide it. Hotel charges to a 5-star spa in San Antonio. Jewelry from a boutique in Dallas. Restaurant bills for 2 at places I'd never been. She hadn't just planned her escape. She'd funded it. With money we earned together. And the worst part? She smiled in every photo. Like guilt had no place in her world anymore. I kept scrolling. Lauren's messages with Chase stretched back 7 months. At first, they were professional project updates, team schedules. Then came the dinners, the late-night Slack pings, the emojis that didn't belong in work threads. By December, they were sending each other playlists. By January, they were making weekend plans. And Valentine's Day, she told me she had a migraine. We ordered Chinese food. I rubbed her back while she fell asleep on the couch. That same night, she sent Chase a video of her in our bed, wearing the robe I gave her for Christmas. She said she felt alive again. Said I was a good man, just not the right man. And Chase? He replied, good is boring. I'll show you what dangerous feels like. I sat back and let the silence fill the room. She wanted danger? She was about to learn what it really looks like. And this time, the one thing she didn't plan for was me. By morning, I had over 200 files saved, screenshots, statements, videos, messages. Everything Lauren and Chase thought they'd hidden, carefully cataloged and encrypted. I backed it all up twice, one on a flash drive, one in a private cloud folder Lauren didn't know existed. But collecting evidence wasn't enough. I didn't want revenge by rage. I wanted precision. I wanted consequences. And that meant finding the one person on this earth who hated Chase Monroe as much as I did, his wife. Her name was Samantha Monroe, a name I barely remembered, one that used to just be a footnote in Lauren's casual work stories. Chase's wife is some kind of lawyer, I think. That's all I'd ever heard. So I searched. It didn't take long. Samantha Monroe, 37, former senior paralegal at a top firm in Austin. Specialization, asset protection, and financial fraud litigation. Currently on a professional hiatus after a family health matter. That family health matter was probably Chase. I found her LinkedIn, her law license, her archive firm profile. She wasn't just smart. She was methodical. Every online footprint clean, calculated, and direct. This was the kind of woman who didn't make moves until she knew all the angles. I liked that. I opened a new text document and started writing a summary of what I knew. Names, dates, transactions, photos, video file names. I attached 6 sample screenshots, just enough to prove I wasn't bluffing, but not enough to show my whole hand. Then I found the firm's old business email, still listed on her site, and I sent the message. Subject line, your husband is in Barcelona with my wife. No threats, no dramatics, just the truth, straight, cold, and undeniable. I didn't expect a reply that fast. 15 minutes later, my phone lit up. Unknown number. Austin area code. I picked up. Mr. Reed? Her voice was calm, level, professional. Not a hint of panic. Yes, I said. This is Samantha Monroe. I received your message. I figured you would. There was a pause on the line, long enough for both of us to let the reality settle. Then she said, I'd like to speak. In person. When and where? Tomorrow. I'll drive up. Do you know the Honey Creek Cafe on Highway 79? I do. 10 a.m. I'll be wearing a navy blazer. Bring your files. I will. She paused again. My husband thinks I'm spending the weekend visiting my sister. I imagine your wife thinks you're still at home grieving. I was grieving, I said. I stopped last night. There was silence on the line. Then she said, Good. See you tomorrow. She hung up. I stared at the phone for a long moment, then set it down and exhaled. Lauren didn't know it yet, but she'd made two fatal mistakes. She underestimated me, and she left a woman like Samantha Monroe behind. By the time they stepped off that cruise ship, the ground under their feet would no longer exist. And the first crack in their perfect little escape, it started with a phone call they never heard. The Honey Creek Cafe sat between a gas station and a boarded-up antique shop on the edge of town. It was the kind of place that smelled like burnt coffee, old pancakes, and quiet conversations. Nothing about it screamed war room, and maybe that's what made it perfect. I arrived 15 minutes early, sat in the corner booth facing the door, and ordered black coffee. No cream, no sugar. I wasn't here for comfort. At exactly 10 a.m., she walked in. Navy blazer, black jeans, hair pulled back, no makeup, no smile. Samantha Monroe looked like a woman who hadn't cried, hadn't begged, hadn't broken. She looked like a weapon that had just been unsheathed. She spotted me instantly, walked over. No hesitation. Nathan Reed, she said, sliding into the booth across from me. I appreciate your punctuality. You're the one who said 10. She nodded once, then set her leather case on the table and opened it. Before we begin, she said, I need to know how much you've got. I pushed a small envelope across the table. Photos, screenshots, 2 printed text threads, a copy of the cruise ticket receipt. She glanced at them for 5 seconds, then pulled out her own folder. Hers was 3 times as thick. I've suspected Chase for months, she said, matter of fact. But suspicion and evidence are 2 very different currencies. And now, I have both, she said. Thanks to you. She opened the folder and laid out a printed spreadsheet. Flight logs, credit card charges, hotel bills in cities he never told her about, dinner reservations for 2 on-nights he claimed to be out of town for conferences, jewelry purchases, spa visits, even one charge to a photography studio labeled private lifestyle shoot. He's been careful, she said, but not careful enough. She slid over a photo. Chase and Lauren, arm in arm, smiling at a seaside restaurant in Naples. I recognized the dress she was wearing. I bought it for her on our 10th anniversary. Do you know how long it's been going on? I asked. Samantha tapped the table twice. Based on phone records? 8 months. Based on behavior? Probably longer. He always waits until I'm between jobs or when I've just buried myself in a project. He preys on timing. This has happened before? She didn't answer immediately. Then, with a voice steady as ice, she said, Chase collects women the way some men collect watches. Polished, hidden, rotated out when the novelty wears off. I leaned back, let that sink in. She thinks she's the only one, I said. Samantha shook her head. She's not. She's just next. We sat in silence for a moment, the weight of mutual betrayal thick between us. Then she said, So, what do you want to do? I want them to come back to ashes, I said. No home, no money, no soft place to land. Samantha looked at me for a long time. Then she smiled, not kindly, but like a shark showing teeth. Good, she said, because I've been planning for this moment for a very long time. I just didn't have someone angry enough to act with me. I reached into my backpack and pulled out my notebook. Where do we start? I asked. She flipped to a clean page in her own legal pad. First, she said, we secure the assets. Then we drain the options. Then we ruin the narrative they're telling themselves. I nodded. Samantha Monroe wasn't just a woman who'd been wronged. She was a strategist, a surgeon, a scalpel dressed like a schoolteacher. And Chase Monroe had no idea that the quiet wife he thought he could fool was about to cut him down with a smile on her face. We didn't leave the cafe for 3 hours. By the time our coffee had gone cold and the lunch rush started trickling in, we had the beginnings of a plan. Structured, calculated, and terrifying in its efficiency. Samantha took the lead. She laid out a full financial map on the table. Accounts, assets, ownership, legal loopholes. She had color-coded tabs, printed bank statements, even Chase's 401k access history. This isn't about blowing up their lives, she said. It's about disassembling them, piece by piece, until there's nothing left but the choices they made. I watched her work with a strange mixture of awe and cold clarity. Every name she wrote, every number she circled, was another nail in the coffin Lauren had built for herself. And for once, I wasn't the one reacting. I was executing. The first step, Samantha said, tapping her pen, is asset protection. You need to move any shared funds out of reach immediately. Joint checking, savings, even credit lines. Will cite financial dissipation and marital fraud. It's legal. I've done it before. I have a personal investment account she doesn't know about, I said, and an emergency fund under my name. Good, she said. We'll start there. We documented everything. Dates of unauthorized charges, timestamps on private messages, photo metadata. Lauren and Chase had been sloppy, bold, arrogant. They didn't think people like us were capable of this kind of response. That was their first mistake. By the end of that afternoon, we had a timeline of the affair, a complete financial record of joint account abuse, screenshots of infidelity-related transactions, evidence of corporate misconduct tied to Chase's company card, travel records, room charges, and one especially damning selfie Lauren posted with a caption, "Finally free." She wants to feel free? Samantha said, flipping the photo toward me. Let's show her what freedom really costs. The next day, we filed paperwork. Samantha drafted a petition for emergency asset freeze, citing financial infidelity and marital deception. I signed power of attorney over select accounts, so she could act faster while I handled the physical side, packing, storage, transfer of property. I listed the house without Lauren's signature. Texas law allowed it under emergency protection if marital assets were being abused. The realtor said the market was hot. I boxed up everything Lauren left behind, her clothes, her books, even a wedding album, and placed them all in a 10 by 20 storage unit under her maiden name. I labeled the key Unit 47, paid through end of the month. Samantha had already closed Chase's personal savings. She rerouted his payroll into a separate trust fund pending divorce. His credit cards? Frozen. His corporate card? Flagged. He'll notice, I said. Let him, she replied. Panic makes people careless. She then leaned forward, voice lower now. You said you wanted ashes. I'm giving you the matchbook. There was a silence between us. Not awkward, not strained, just aligned. Two people who had never met until a week ago, now united by betrayal and bound by precision. We didn't need revenge for closure. We needed control, clarity, consequence. And for the first time in a long time, I wasn't drowning in what she did to me. I was building what would come next. While they smiled for photos on Spanish beaches, we were unraveling the life they left behind. Lauren posted a story on day 3 of the cruise. Her in a white sundress, the one I bought her last summer, standing on the deck of a luxury liner, cocktail in hand, hair catching the golden light. The caption read, "Sometimes you have to lose yourself to find freedom." I saved it, not for nostalgia, for documentation. Chase's Instagram was worse. He treated their affair like a travel blog, romantic dinners in Barcelona, wine tastings in Mallorca, hotel room selfies with captions like, "Finally living." One even had them clinking champagne glasses with the words, "No looking back." He was right about one thing. There was no going back. While they were sipping wine on a sunlit terrace, I was signing the final sale documents for our house. The buyer paid cash. 30-day close. No contingencies. I hired movers to empty the home within 2 days. The furniture? Gone. The clothes? Boxed. The walls? Bare. I left the ring box, the one that held the diamond. I never got to repropose with, on the empty kitchen island. A note taped to the lid read, "You traded permanence for passion. This is what it looks like now." Her things went into storage unit 47, tagged with a new padlock and an expiration date. While she posted sunsets, I pulled utility records. Cut power. Ended water. Canceled the Wi-Fi account she once refused to let go of because she liked the router name. While they laughed in Europe, I filed an updated affidavit of financial misconduct. Attached were photos, bank records, timestamps of every charge tied to her affair. Samantha added corporate fraud documentation against Chase. Charges on his work card labeled client dinners that took place in romantic cities with no clients in sight. We printed out their travel logs, mapped them over his company calendar. They weren't just cheating on their spouses. They were cheating their employers, their reputations, their future. And while they were telling themselves stories of passion and rebirth, we were making sure those stories would be the last ones they ever told in peace. Samantha texted me a photo one afternoon. Chase and Lauren sitting at a rooftop bar, smiling at the camera, bathed in twilight. Then beneath it, just 4 words, "They think they won." I replied with one, "Perfect." We were 5 days in. They had no idea that by the time their plane touched U.S. soil, everything they abandoned would already belong to someone else. Their bank accounts, their homes, their status, even their narratives. They were smiling because they thought they escaped. We were smiling because we let them think so. Their flight landed at 11:24 a.m. on a Sunday. I know that because I had the itinerary. I was sitting on the back porch at cabin in Oregon when my phone buzzed. First with a push notification, then a message. It was from Lauren. "Hey, the garage code isn't working. Did you change it?" I didn't reply. 10 minutes later. "Nathan, my key won't turn either. Are you home?" Another 10 minutes. "Why is there a for sale sign in the yard?" Then, "Why does it say sold?" I could picture her standing in the driveway, suitcase beside her, wearing airport sweatpants and cruise 10 lines, trying to understand how the story in her head unraveled into the scene in front of her. No home, no key, no comfort, just a neighborhood that no longer remembered her name. The calls started soon after, 5 in a row. I let them all go to voicemail. By the 3rd message, she was crying. By the 5th, she was screaming. At 12:48 p.m., she sent a photo. Her luggage on the sidewalk. A sold sign over her shoulder. Her hair pulled back. No makeup. Panic in her eyes. "Where are my things? Where is everything? Nathan, please. I don't understand what's happening." I forwarded the message to Samantha. Her reply came in seconds. "Brad's been served." I smiled. While Lauren was unraveling in the street, Chase was sitting in a conference room at his company headquarters in Austin. His boss across the table. HR to his left, a printed packet of expense reports in his hands. Samantha sent me a screenshot of the email that got him there. Anonymous tip. Subject: employee misuse of corporate resources. Brad Monroe. Attached were receipts from restaurants, boutique hotels, and jewelry stores, purchased with company cards, all tied to weekends that didn't match any official travel record. By 2 p.m., his corporate accounts were frozen. By 2:30, his company login credentials were revoked. By 3 o'clock, he was escorted out of the building. Back in Houston, Lauren finally got me on the phone, through a borrowed number, from what I can only assume was a stranger's device. Her voice was thin, stretched tight between confusion and desperation. "Nathan, what did you do?" I stayed silent for a beat, let the question hang. Then I said calmly, "Your belongings are in storage unit 47 on Maple Street. paid through the end of the month. She inhaled sharply. Storage unit? What are you talking about? Why is the house sold? Because I sold it. I said simply, cash offer, 30-day close. You can't do that without my signature. Emergency asset protection. I replied, Texas law. When one spouse is using marital funds to finance an extramarital relationship, the other has a right to act in defense of shared property. There was a long silence on the line. The kind of silence that says, I didn't think you were capable of this. Then quietly, how did you know? I laughed. Just once. Lauren, you filmed yourself cheating on me in our bed and saved the file to our shared cloud storage. Another pause. It's not what you think. It's exactly what I think, I said. And now, it's what everyone else knows, too. Please, she whispered, the tears finally cracking her voice. We can talk about this. We can fix it. No, I said. Nathan, I made a mistake. I exhaled slowly. The breeze shifted across the cabin deck. Pines rustled somewhere in the distance. No, Lauren, you made 100 small choices over 6 months. And now you get to live with them. She didn't respond right away. Then finally, where are you? I looked out over the hills. Somewhere you'll never find me. And I hung up. By Monday morning, the fallout had already begun. Chase tried to use his corporate card at a hotel in Houston. Denied. He tried to log into his company email. Access revoked. Tried to call Samantha. Straight to voicemail. He called Lauren instead. She was sitting on the curb outside the storage facility I sent her to. Hair in a messy bun. Sandals loose, rummaging through boxes labeled in my handwriting. Dishes. Winter clothes. Wedding photos. I imagined Chase's voice on the other end was somewhere between panic and disbelief. He probably said something like, we'll figure this out. And Lauren, she probably believed him, because that's who she is. She trusts wolves who smile. What she didn't know, what neither of them knew, was that Samantha had already filed emergency divorce paperwork, served by a process server in front of his apartment complex. A thick manila envelope handed over just as he tried to buzz himself through the broken front gate. Inside were documents Samantha had prepared for weeks. Evidence of financial infidelity. Unauthorized use of shared assets. Violation of corporate ethics. Petition for spousal asset protection. There was also a cover letter. Actions have consequences. You're about to experience both. Lauren called me again that afternoon. I didn't pick up. She left a voicemail. Her voice was shaky, uncertain. Nathan, please. I know I messed up, but I'm scared. Everything's gone. Chase's cards don't work. My phone plan got cut off. I'm back at my mom's. I don't know what to do. She sounded like someone waking up from a dream that turned into a house fire. By Wednesday, the story had started circulating online. A gossip blog out of Austin ran a piece titled, Sales Director Fired Over Alleged Cruise Affair. Corporate Scandal or Midlife Meltdown? There was a photo attached. Blurry. Zoomed in. Chase and Lauren, walking arm in arm down a Barcelona street. Public record requests confirmed the divorce filing. HR at Chase's company confirmed his termination. The internet did the rest. Lauren's best friend unfollowed her. Her sister stopped answering calls. Even her mother, the woman who once called me too boring for her daughter, sent her a text that simply read, You made your bed. Samantha forwarded me screenshots of Lauren's messages. Desperate, grasping, apologizing to everyone she once bragged to. One in particular stood out. She'd written to her cousin, I thought I was choosing something exciting. I didn't know it would all fall apart this fast. No, she didn't think at all. She wanted fire. She got ashes. Samantha, and I met again that Thursday. This time in a quiet law office 2 towns over. We signed the final asset freezes. Completed Chase's financial lockout. Finalized the sale of a second car Lauren hadn't realized was still under my name. She asked how I felt. I told her the truth. Lighter. Not happy. Not angry. Just finally clear. She nodded. That's what closure is supposed to feel like. As I walked out, my phone buzzed. A final message from Lauren. Just 2 words. I'm sorry. I stared at the screen for a long time, then deleted it without replying. Not because I hated her, but because her words weren't meant for healing. They were just her last attempt to be heard in a life that no longer belonged to her. We could have stopped there. The house was sold. The accounts were frozen. The reputation's cracked. But Samantha wasn't done. And truth be told, neither was I, because while Lauren had tried to blow up a life out of boredom, Chase had done something worse. He had done it before, many times, and gotten away with it. That's what made Samantha dangerous. She wasn't reacting. She had been recording. For 3 months before that cruise, she'd been collecting evidence. Quietly, strategically, patiently. She had phone records, travel receipts, work calendars, and most importantly, the testimonies of 3 other women, all of them married, all of them former colleagues, all of them seduced, used, and discarded by Chase Monroe under guise of mentorship. She handed me the folder one Friday morning. It was thick, labeled in bold black ink. Chase Monroe, pattern of predation. Inside were pages of timelines, screenshots, and internal Slack messages that no HR department in America could ignore. There were text threads between Chase and the women, some flirty, some manipulative, some deeply unsettling. And then there were the charges. Over $30,000 in corporate card expenses over the past 18 months, all labeled as client development. None of them had any client signatures. Just hotel stays, expensive wine, and spa services. There was a printed map at the end. 6 cities, 6 women, 1 man. It wasn't an affair. It was a blueprint. We submitted the file anonymously, both to his former company's legal department and to the Texas State Ethics Commission. Samantha had friends in quiet places, people who knew how to make sure reports didn't get lost. Within 48 hours, Chase was under preliminary investigation for corporate fraud, sexual misconduct, and ethical violations under employee relationship policy. We didn't need him to be arrested. We just needed him to be finished. That Sunday, Samantha sent me a photo from downtown Austin. Chase, sitting alone on a courthouse bench. Same gray suit he wore at Lauren's cousin's wedding. Head in his hands. Folders beside him. A man slowly realizing no one was coming to fix this. She texted me 2 words. It's done. I stared at the photo for a long moment. Not with joy. Not with vengeance. But with clarity. The kind of clarity you earn after someone burns down your house and hands you the match. Lauren traded her marriage for a man who saw her as a layover, not a destination. She gave up history for adrenaline, stability for spectacle. And Chase? He thought women like Samantha would always stay quiet. He didn't realize that silence is sometimes the last sound you hear before everything falls apart. I didn't celebrate. There was no champagne, no toast, no victory lap, just the soft click of a door closing behind me as I stepped out of that chapter of my life for good. The last file I saved in the archive folder was a screenshot of a LinkedIn update. Chase Monroe, no longer employed. No explanation. No farewell post. Just silence. I didn't need more than that. Lauren, meanwhile, had gone quiet. After her last voicemail, the messages stopped. I didn't block her. I didn't have to. She had nothing left to say that I hadn't already heard in every choice she made. I still got the occasional update. Through people we used to know. Through mutual friends who couldn't help but whisper. She was living with her mother now, picking up shifts at a mid-range restaurant near the freeway. Her bank accounts were under review for misuse of joint funds. Her credit was shot. Her resume stained by whispers and screenshots. She became a cautionary tale. The woman who left her stable husband for an affair that unraveled faster than a cheap suit. The woman who gave up everything for a man who gave nothing back. And me? I moved out of Texas a few weeks after the house sold. Got a cabin in Oregon, close to the woods, far from the noise. I work remotely now. Fix things on my own schedule. Drink coffee on the deck in the mornings. No alarms. No explanations. No lies. Samantha and I still talk sometimes. Not often. Just enough. We send updates. Headlines. Restaurant reviews. Warnings about people who remind us too much of the past. We're not in love. We're something better. We're survivors. When people ask what happened to my marriage, I tell them it ended the way most things do. Not with a bang, but with a choice. 1,000 tiny decisions that led to one big truth. You can't build a life on top of betrayal and expect it to stand. The final text I ever got from Lauren came 2 months after the dust had settled. It said, "I thought I wanted freedom. I didn't know it would feel like this." I didn't reply, because freedom doesn't come from leaving someone. It comes from becoming someone. And by the time she realized that, I already had. Some people learn through books, others through mistakes. I learned through betrayal. I learned that the person who sleeps beside you can sometimes be the person who carves the deepest wound. And I learned that no matter how much love you pour into a life, it means nothing to someone who only sees the glass as half empty. But the biggest lesson? It came in the silence. In the space after the war was over. After the calls stopped. After the last box was moved. After I stopped replaying betrayal and started rebuilding the man who'd been crushed under it. Because the truth is, betrayal doesn't define you. What you do with it does. I could have chosen bitterness. Could have drowned in anger. Could have let myself become a ghost, haunting my own past. But instead, I chose stillness. I chose quiet mornings and honest work. I chose solitude over codependence, clarity over chaos, peace over punishment. Forgiveness? No, not for her, not for him, but for myself, yes. I forgave the version of me who didn't see it coming. I forgave the man who stayed too long, who tried too hard, who loved too blindly, because now I see things differently. I see that sometimes when someone leaves you behind, it's not the end of your story. It's the beginning of theirs, unraveling, and it's the start of yours. Finally written by your own hand, not edited by someone else's choices. We all want to be seen, heard, chosen, but the truth is, the loudest kind of validation doesn't come from another person saying, "I love you." It comes from you whispering to yourself, "You deserve better," and you became it. So here's what I know now. Not everyone who promises forever has a capacity for it. Not every vow was meant to be kept, and not every fire is meant to be put out. Some fires exist to burn down the house that was never meant to hold you. And when the ashes settle, if you're lucky, you'll find something stronger rising in the smoke. 3 months after I found the letter, I boarded a flight with no return date. Just one carry-on, a worn leather notebook, and a new passport. Destination, Lisbon. I chose Portugal because it was quiet, because it didn't look like anything I'd known, because it was a place she never dreamed of and therefore could never stain with her memory. I rented a small apartment above a bakery that smelled like cinnamon and espresso at 6 in the morning. I learned how to ask for coffee in Portuguese. I stopped checking my phone. I stopped explaining where I'd been. And no one asked. That was the best part. In Lisbon, I wasn't Nathan the husband, or Nathan the victim, or Nathan who was left. I was just a man who ordered coffee, who watched the sunrise, who wrote in his notebook by the water and didn't flinch when his past tried to follow. I still carry that notebook. It's full now, 112 pages of betrayal, planning, execution, and recovery, a record of everything I lost and everything I found afterward. Samantha moved to Barcelona. She took a consulting job with an international firm and lives in an apartment overlooking the sea. We message sometimes. Restaurant tips. Headlines. The occasional joke. She sent me a picture last week. Chase walking out of a courthouse in Chicago. Face drawn, thinner than I remembered. His story is over now. So is Lauren's. She's working double shifts at a roadside diner in Houston, living in her mother's spare bedroom. Her name shows up on gossip blogs sometimes. The woman who left her husband for a cruise affair and lost everything. The kind of story people read with popcorn and pity. I don't feel anything when I see her name. Not hate, not nostalgia, not grief, just nothing. And that, I've come to realize, is the real victory. Not that I got even, but that I got free. Because you don't win when you destroy someone. You win when their destruction no longer includes you, when you are no longer tied to the wreckage. when your life moves forward while there's circles to drain they dug for themselves. I sit at a cafe on the edge of the Alfama district. The breeze smells like salt and baked stone. My phone buzzes once, an alert I ignore. I sip my espresso, turn to the last page of the notebook, and write, Lisbon, March 15th. This is the first page of something new. I don't know where it leads, but I know who I am now, and that's enough. Then I close the notebook. No final text, no goodbye, no trace, just the sound of the sea and the quiet, the beautiful, unbreakable quiet.